your group. Welcome to another wonderful Wednesday, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. We thought for a minute that we were over the the perils of winter, but Mother Nature decided to shock us again. And looking at my phone, we started today at 17 degrees, and now we've moved up just a little bit to 25. But it's going to be a cold couple of days. And I was watching the news last night, and I was surprised because I don't know how people in Minnesota do it, but people in Minnesota, I think that they were suffering in the negative numbers. But when I say negative numbers, I mean significant negative numbers. But I hope, and I'm sending out smiles to all of my friends who are in wonderful Minnesota, wonderful North Dakota, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just wishing them all the best and hoping that they are, in fact, staying warm, right, and doing what it is that they need to do at the same time. So let's get started. We like to open up with talking about what's going on in the economy. And the first thing that I have on my notes is the fact that the feds are going to be releasing their January 28th and 29 minutes. So that's going to come out at 2 p.m. today. So then that means that that's definitely something that we're going to be able to talk about during our next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But does that matter? Right? Because last week we spoke about the fact that basically the FOMC have given us a heads up that we should only be anticipating one interest rate cut for the entire year, right? So, any news there around real estate units? How does that one resonate with you?
Um, I mean, I think most people will agree that we are all just anticipating and waiting to see what's next. That does not mean that the world stops. It just means that as you make decisions, make sure that you are aware. We live in a world where you cannot just blindly be living, right? So just make sure you are aware. And but the world is not going to stop for anyone. So you just continue making sure that you are informed. Just make sure that whatever decisions that you make, you reach out to people who are in that industry to make informed decisions before you do anything really.
Hmm.
Hmm.
No, all of this impacts the small business owner in a different
Yeah.
way than what it does another an employee, etc. I have a joke for today. I don't know. The joke may land, the joke may not land, but something that I saw earlier today was that Kentucky Fried Chicken, aka KFC, is moving from Kentucky to Texas. So if KFC no longer has an affiliation with Kentucky, is it still KFC? What's
Yeah,
your
I
thought
saw
on that
that
one?
and I thought, it's still KFC.
It's still KFC.
It's still KFC. I don't believe that most businesses, when they relocate, they change their names.
Uh-huh.
We
Yeah,
are
but
still
most
value investment partners, whether we are in Virginia or if we decide to move to the Carolinas will still be VIP, value investment partners.
Yeah,
So
but we're not Virginia investment partners.
exactly, we are not. And I'll say my
We
assumption would just be that, hey, at the time when they named it, I don't believe they thought they would move, but
uh-huh.
we live in a changing world, and as things change, we change decisions, and yeah.
The better question for me is whether or not if the colonel the colonel is turning over in his grave,
Who
right?
knows? Who knows?
Sending prayers to the colonel, right? And hopefully the colonel isn't turning over in his grave, right? So let's
Exactly.
move on the agenda. We already talked about inflation, and you do the shopping for the household. Tell me, has the price of eggs come down? Or I know that when I went to McDonald's when we were in no, a couple of weeks before we went to New Jersey, I went to McDonald's and I ordered a sausage egg McMuffin, and it came out with no egg. I don't know how you can have a sausage egg McMuffin without an egg, but it came without the egg. And I didn't know if I should, turn around and go back, which I didn't do. I just had the sausage McMuffin.
Yeah.
What's going on with these eggs?
I mean, I don't think it's just eggs, but things are still expensive. Yeah. But yes, eggs. I actually bought eggs yesterday. 18. They were close to $8.
18.
Eight. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, it's we feel it in our pockets. We really do. So $8, close to $8 for 18 eggs. It's Yeah, and it's funny because I saw someone who joked, and he was saying, now soon we'll start seeing chickens that lay eggs being treated as princesses, because they know that they have golden eggs now.
They have golden eggs now.
Golden eggs, yeah. So we should treat them with that queen like treatment, understanding that, hey, just one just one is so valuable at this time in our economy. Yeah.
But this shows you how it's amazing how certain things that we take for granted, both as employees and as business owners, different things can come into focus inside of our lives, right?
Yeah.
Here
Yeah.
we are having a conversation about eggs, and one of the things about eggs led me to read an entire article because I learned that yes, the price of eggs is being impacted by the flu, the avian flu. However, prices for chicken aren't being impacted by the same.
Hmm. Interesting.
And I have become somewhat of an expert. Well, I read one article, so I don't think reading one article makes me an expert. But the reason why, the Super Bowl was just here, we had wings with our pizza, etc. The reason why is because I believe it's hens. You tell me hens lay eggs?
Yes.
All right. So hens lay eggs and they have to be mature in order to lay eggs. But the chicken that we eat are a different sh- species. I'm not, the species might be the
Breathe.
wrong word. Breed. They're broilers. And since they only have a short lifespan, I believe I read in the article that that was 7 weeks, 8 weeks. They're not impacted by the avian flu.
Yep.
Moreover, right, the price of chicken wings, chicken, etc., they haven't been impacted by inflation overall.
Yep.
Was that a bit of useless information, or is that valuable information? That's a question that I don't even have an answer for, however it is in my mind. So
Well,
moving.
information will always be valuable when you learn something from it.
Mm,
So, having grown up in the country, having had chickens in my backyard, I know this information, right? Whereas you having grown up in the city, it's something that you had to learn that, oh, okay, this doesn't really affect broilers because broilers have a shorter life. Once they reach a certain couple of weeks, then that's when they are slaughtered to be chicken, to be, our meat. Whereas with, so information, what I'm really saying is information will always be valuable and worth something to someone who may not have known what that information is portraying.
okay.
Mhm.
All right. All
And
right.
it
No,
brings
no.
us it brings us to what we also wanted to talk about today, that so you have this business or farmers who now have these chickens, right? So these chickens are their main source of income for the business,
Uh-huh.
right? You may say, as a business owner right now, you are the main person in the business because you do everything for the business. There could be another small business owner who has salespeople in his team, and his top salesperson is the main person that if this top salesperson was to leave, the business would be negatively impacted. I say these things to say, typically in a business, of course, it may not be the same for chickens. However, typically in a business, that key person, that key salesperson, that founder of the business, typically we have what's called a key person insurance on that person. And the reason is because you want to ensure that when this person is no longer there, that the business would have some type of funds to be able to continue business.
So
So,
let
just
me
out of
go on.
curiosity, are you familiar with just the concept of a key person insurance or key man insurance?
I'm familiar that there is a thing that you could insure the main stakeholders in the business. So the CEO, maybe the CFO, etc. I
Hmm.
would not have thought that a salesperson, or let's just say the chief sales officer or head of sales, would be something where you could insure that person, right? Because I would not have assumed that there wouldn't be someone else who could step into that role. I, yes, agree. CFO, CEO, I would think that they would be insurable, but definitely from a small business perspective, because the owner is typically wearing multiple hats within the business.
Hmm. Well, by definition, really, this encompasses what we call a critical employee or the owner or an executive whose death, right, or disability would financially harm the business or the company. So it may be a salesperson. If you have a top salesperson who's bringing in most of the income and that person passes away, there's going to be a gap. Yes, you can later on fill in, but it's not going to be a seamless fill in and they'll pick up from exactly where the other may have been.
Hmm.
So you are really just limiting your risk as a business to say, I have this employee, or I'm the owner, or I have this critical person in the business, and I would love to ensure that as long as this person is still alive, that the business is not negatively impacted financially when this critical person passes or is disabled and no longer able to perform their duties.
So let me play that back, right? One of these stakeholders in the business,
Mhm.
right? The business can establish a policy against that key stakeholder, right? And that
Mhm.
key stakeholder will be the insured of the policy.
Yeah,
Now, can the infinite banking component of this be available, i.e., can the business as the owner tap into that policy? The, sorry,
definitely.
can they tap into the cash value of that policy?
Yes. So basically, like you said, that key person will be the insured person. However, the company is the one that owns the policy and is also the beneficiary. So, as the owner of the policy, as the business is the owner of the policy, they can use the cash value of that policy that they own to use those funds as however they may, whether they're looking to grow the business or whatever it is that they may be looking to do for the business.
Hmm.
Does that answer your question?
Well, it was your question to me, but I
Well,
somehow put it back.
okay, okay. So then, do you understand what I mean when I say that key person? Yes, they are the insured. However, that insurance policy is owned by the business, and the business also is the beneficiary. So, because the owner, which is the business, owns this policy, and as long as this policy has been set up correctly, right? The business is in a position where as they are growing or if they have any other financial needs, they would be able to use some of the cash value for the business.
No, that makes sense. Now, can the business then treat that policy as an asset? For
Oh yes.
example, let's just say you are, and this is a conversation that we've been having with more and more business owners as we engage with them. When that business is sold, if that insurance policy is treated as an asset, does that get incorporated into the valuation of the business, or is it something, or do you treat it some other way?
Well, the insurance policy, even to an individual outside of the business, will always come in as your it's your asset because
Hmm.
and when you look at most documents, you will see that they don't just ask you if you have an insurance. They want to know what is its cash value and what is its surrender value if you were to surrender it. However, when when you have a policy, there are limitations on how you can transfer it or if you can even transfer it to another person because you have insured, say we've insured you as Lee.
Hmm.
If we sell value investment partners, you as the insured, then the question is, can we move you from being the insured and transfer that policy to, say, Paul, who's now buying value investment partners, right? So
Hmm.
there are limitations. It's your asset, yes, but there are limitations as to whether you can sell it off to other people or transfer it to other people. Unlike if you have your business as an entity and it's your asset, you can transfer the business and sell the business.
Got it.
So don't
No,
confuse that. Hmm.
I think that that's something that a lot of business owners may not be aware of. One of the reasons why we decided to form this group was so that we could have a conversation with business owners, because our mission is to make sure that small business owners not only survive but thrive, right? And these
Exactly.
are, I would say, tools that are inside of their toolbox in order to ensure that their business is viable long long term.
Yeah, and a lot of times, I know when we talk to some business owners, sometimes they'll say, "Well, um, insurance is way too expensive. I don't personally have the funds to buy insurance, right?" However, as a business owner, that's part of your expenses for running the business when you obtain or get this key person insurance, right? And this is something that could come very handy or could help the business continue after you pass, because most times, as a business owner, especially as small business owners, the day that I die, it means that everything that I was doing for the business is going to be disrupted. And when those activities are disrupted, that impacts the money that's coming into the business. So when you haven't a policy like that, that's been paid by the business, that means that when I pass on, then insurance is going to pay the business. The business may have lost income that I would have produced. However, that death benefit coming to the business will help keep the business afloat as now the business navigates and repositions or whatever it has to do to get back onto its feet, to be in a position where whether they get a new employee or they rearrange the current employees such that the business is now able to continue making that income that I may have been bringing in, but at least during that time, they have that death benefit to continue to sustain the business. So there is
No,
some level of, financial protection that it offers, or some type of business continuity that it offers in cases like what I just mentioned.
no, that makes a lot of sense, because as a small business owner, there are so many hats that we wear,
Mm-hmm.
right? There are a
Exactly.
number of enormous hats that we wear, but in that particular instance, the business still needs to carry on, and the family is going to be impacted because the primary breadwinner is no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems as though this is something great that can be put into the portfolio so that it reduces the risk to the family as a whole. And I just think that that makes so much sense.
And even as a business, when you do have something like this, right? When you go, say you go to a bank looking for a loan, a business loan, showing that you have these policies in your as part of your assets, it tends to help you when you are now looking for loans from the bank, because now here you are, you have and this asset. So it helps as some type of collateral that you can use as you go and get business loans.
No, that makes a whole lot of sense. And hopefully, this discussion today, you know, is going to be something valuable that a small business owner is able to leverage, right? And at the name of the at the end of the day, it's basically how can you remove risk from yourself, from your family, etc., in case something should happen that we did not plan, right? And
Exactly.
typically on this channel, about we're having conversations about, inflation and what's going on with inflation and interest rates, etc. But there are other risks that can be solved, right, by taking on a policy in the name of the business that protects a critical stakeholder. That makes a whole
Definitely.
lot of sense. And just, having this conversation today helped me to actually think through that, because I know that we have several policies within our household, but I'm not sure if one of those policies is a key man policy, basically against yourself and I, to make sure that if we something were to happen to one of us, because I also understand that key man insurance can also cover for a disability. We were initially talking about one of the extreme scenarios, right? But the extreme scenario doesn't have to be there with a death, even a disability, right? A cancer diagnosis or something like that can remove that key stakeholder from the business for
Mhm.
a time, right? And the business still needs to be a going concern, right? Even though that stakeholder is not available. So I put it
Exactly.
up there that if someone wanted to know more about Keyman Insurance, that they could actually give you a call and reach out on the website in order to be able to contact you to learn more about how they can, develop their portfolio and leverage this as a tool. Plus, with the ability to tap into the cash value, that makes additional sense at the same time.
Exactly. Exactly. So
All right.
there's so much more than just the policy. So it's worth, if anything, it's worth at least getting the information and trying to see if this is something that would be beneficial to your business. And I can assure you, I 100% believe that this is one of those policies that I would consider critical for any small business owner. You have to be in a position where you think beyond just today. You have to think about what's going to happen to my business, to my family, to my finances if I'm disabled or when I pass. You have to think of those things and have some type of plan as to, okay, when I pass, here's something that can kick in while the family is grieving. And once they are back on that feet, they can figure out, do we sell this business? Do we just close doors? What do we do? But have a plan, right?
Well, that goes back to that old saying, if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Never.
Well, I think we covered a broad array of topics today. We definitely tapped into key man insurance and how it can be utilized, but also that fits into the portfolio because, a business not only needs to survive, but it needs to thrive. And one of the things that I was reading earlier, it talked about, and I'm going to have a little bit of trivia as we close out. Eunice, are you ready?
Okay, I am.
Help me to understand what is one thing that can solve many business problems?
One thing.
There is one thing that I know that can solve many business problems. 5 letters, starts with an M and
Money.
ends with a Y.
I would say money, but I don't fully agree with that it can solve everything.
No, no, I didn't say solve everything. I said solve many of a business's problems.
Mm. Well, I
And
would have,
having
in an ideal world, I would have said money with proper. financial plan?
I think that answers the
Because
question
having
as well.
access to money doesn't really do much if you don't know how to use it wisely.
Yeah,
You can
but
have
like for
access to money and pay bills and do what needs to be done. However, if you don't have the vision or the plan to really make your money grow, work for you, do more, then you're just throwing away money. But that's a discussion
yeah,
for another time.
no, and probably something that we can tap into on the next wonderful Wednesday when we come back live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, right? We could have that conversation
Mhm.
all over again. Is that does most business problems get solved with just money, but does it enhance the money if you also have a plan?
Yeah, I, li- I, I
All
like
right.
I like that version better.
No. And one of the things that we want to do is, we want to maybe spend 1 or 2 minutes and open it up for any questions or answers. I don't see anything in the chat at this point in time, but I do see we have a visitor or two across the different channels. But even if this is recorded and if you were to see this and then comment on us, we would be able to apply to that. So Business Insights is here, right? We're here to provide access, guidance, coaching to small business owners so that they can not only thrive, but they can actually survive.
Hmm.
And I'll close it out. I don't know if you can end the rest of this for me, but now I like to say if cash flow is king, you want to finish that, babe?
If cash flow is king, then business credit is queen.
Without the business credit, yes, but if cash flow is king, then business credit is queen. So
Yeah.
if you need access, if you need help with understanding what is your business credit profile and how to gain access to other funding sources, right? You just reach out to us at VIP Biz Funds just the same, and we'll be able to help you out there as well. So with that, let's close out. I'll leave it to you, Eunice. You can close us out.
Well, thanks everyone for being here. And like Lee said, for any questions, whether it's on business credit or it's on insurance, today we were talking about key man insurance, its importance, what it means for the business. Reach out to us. And I'd like to also ask other business owners. We love having conversations with other business owners and allowing you to talk a little bit about what you do, the challenges that you face, how you've overcome them. Reach out to us as well. There is a barcode on the top left side of the screen. You can um, scan that in, reach out. Would love to have you on the show. It's always great to have other business owners so that we can all sit down, have conversations, and learn from each other. Other than that, thanks for being here, and we will see you again next week on another wonderful Wednesday.
Bye bye.
Have a good